Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm doing some more NHL 24 franchise mode. I actually haven't recorded any this year, but I've played quite a bit. But we're gonna do, there's a lot of people who do those 5-year challenges, and I'm gonna be setting up in the background. We'll speed this up, but I want to do that, but kind of a slightly different format where I'm just kind of here afterwards summarizing what happens each season. Give you guys time for some input if you want to give any on what we need to do for the following one. I am turning injuries down to 20. There are far too many injuries in this game. So turning it down to 20, and you'll see there are actually a number of injuries that we go through. Pretty minor, but we'll get to that later. So here we are. Going to start the career, keep the salary cap on, and away we go. So first we're going to preview our contracts. There you can just see overall our best players right now, and we'll break it down by position. So we got center first. Zegras, 22, great, has 3 more years, and then he's an RFA as well, so that is hugely important, in a very good position there. Then we got McDavish, who is going to be expensive when he's up, but again, restricted. Strome, that's a solid contract. He'd be kind of a third line, but the thing is, you see, we left wing, we're very low on resources there. We got Killorn, so a lot of those centermen also play left wing, so kind of comfortable still knowing that a couple of them will. Strome could bump up to the second line center if one of our centers moves over there. Right wing, we're doing decent. That's pretty much what you want to see up and down the lineup, first line, second line, third line, fourth line there. And you got Terry signed for a long, long time at $7 million, which is great. On defense, we're a little bit shaky. We got Fowler there, aging though. Drysdale is, on the up and up. And then we also have a couple guys down there at the bottom that are, coming up. So we got some potential, but overall, we don't have like a stellar guy on D. But you turn to goaltender, we got Gibson signed for a few years, 87 overall, great. And then this backup here, pretty young, 23. He can improve, but not into a stellar starter. And you can look at the depth there. No one really huge. I will mention that a lot of this is fast forwarded, so feel free to pause and take a look at things. Here are the lines, and as I said, the centermen automatically moved over to the left wings. Some of them, so like McTavish, for example. So we're in a good spot, I think. Forwards wise, a little bit of depth would be good, but we do have some younger guys there on the bottom line, and Grow and Jones, Grow. I'm gonna go with that. But yeah. So, and defense, as you can see, giving Mintyukov, dang, I got to learn how to pronounce these names, and Drysdale, time on the top pair is great. Fowler, instead being on the second player, but, despite the overall. And now just looking at, trade value, I want to get a sense of this. Those players towards the top, not really looking to get rid of any of them. I think we're in a good position where in the next 5 years we can win some cups, if not this year. We do have kind of a base that could compete for a playoff spot, so just checking that out. Now, we started the season, didn't make any moves. Here's kind of a recap on how things have gone before the trade deadline. As you can see, 32, 24, and 6. Just going to skim through the months here so you can see. And you can see the standings there on the bottom right. It cycles through. I don't really take an in-depth look at the standings until the end of the season. So you can see we're in second place, though, in the division. So we are fighting for a playoff spot, and we're well in the running for that. So looking at the trade deadline, we're going to try to beef up our roster. Here's a look at the lines, updated. I think some overalls have changed a bit. Carlson got bumped down to the third line, but he is a third line scorer. Strome ready for the second line on that with that status. So that's going to work out best. Defense, they've moved Fowler up. Mint. I'm going to call him Minty. Minty, has improved too. I think he was an 80, 81 to start the season, so bump it up to 83 is great. But, defense is still a bit weak, and goaltender, we're in a good position, so, I'm feeling all right about it. Let's look at the stats, though. Zegras leading the way with 75 points. He's also leads the team in goals, and he's tied for the lead in assists, as you'll see. But feel free to take a look at this if you're interested. Here's the weird thing. Gibson playing way worse than Dostal is. I mean, Dostal probably came in to relieve him at times. All right, so as you can see here, I'm fast forwarding through this quick. Feel free to pause and I'll show you the overall result at the end. But basically, we're looking for defenders, and we're going to throw a couple of our defensive prospects, basically trying to speed up the process of finding some starters, and we're going to throw some picks. So as you can see here, this is where we wind up. Zellweger is up there, Lacombe is up there, so we're going to enter the trade deadline. Those two young defensemen are kind of the big trade chips, and we see we're not trying to go for a goalie, but Swayman's available, and he'll be an RFA, and that's a little too tempting to not go after. So you're going to see some negotiations with Boston here right off the bat, and first we're going to try to flip Gibson for him, and we're going to add some picks to try to beef it up, but they're really not for it. They also aren't interested in Gibson. They got Ullmark, so why would they even really realistically go for that? So we're going to try to add Lacombe to the deal amongst the picks, but really nothing winds up going there, so we're going to switch away. That would have been great, but just to take a gander at what they'd want. They want a lot of players. We're not looking to give up players, now that are helping us in our playoff push, so we're going to move on, and we're going to look at some defensemen. Then Noah Hannafin up for grabs, much like in real life at the trade deadline. You're seeing some names that were available and moved. Noah Hannafin would look great in a Dallas, Jesus, an Anaheim jersey. And we're seeing Gudas and Lacombe are guys they're interested along with picks. And we're interested in that. But we're going to counter and see if they can switch one of those thirds to a fourth overall pick. Just selecting which one. And there we go. We got Noah Hannafin. Big upgrade at defense. Stacking the left side a bit, but overall not bad. And then we're gonna look at something else here. We're going back to Boston for Swayman. I felt like there's some other ways we could get here. Maybe we're stacking some picks, and we're getting close. So eventually, I'm kind of like, all right, 2 first rounders, a prospect, and a third. 2 was a bit heftier than 2 of the second round picks is a little heftier than I was looking for, but that makes it work. And we have Jeremy Swayman. So now we are going to look to get rid of Gibson. We're going to find some trades and. Nothing great. Ideally, I'd want a first-round pick, or like a hefty upgrade, but we're kind of getting like depth players / picks, and so I'm gonna try to go after Chicago's first-round pick because they're interested in them, but they don't really want to give that up cheaply, and eventually, we're gonna give up on the Blackhawks after trying to finagle something. Then we turn to Buffalo and look to do a deal with them, but. Nothing really doing, and I start to realize, hey, maybe we hold on to Gibson until the end of the season, have this tandem. There's not really any big pieces that we want to go after left, except we do want to go after Patrick Kane, and you know what? There's a couple guys on our block that are up for grabs, or that they're interested in, that I should say. And eventually, I just decide, Gudas is the guy. We don't want to give up 2 guys, and Gudas, we got an upgrade in Hannafin, and while he's on the right side, that can compensate. So we got Patrick Kane to just add a wealth of scoring on our first line and to our core as a whole. So he is a rental unless we look to sign him in the offseason, but something tells me he's going to want a little bit more than we're willing to give up. So pretty much a rental for, not too much. So after the trade deadline, you'll see we do make the playoffs, and you can see the standings on the right as well. We'll get to that more in depth, but solid winning streak broken up by the LA Kings towards the end of the season that really solidified us as having home ice in the first round. Look at the Western Conference. The Canucks at one point, I think they were like 50-6, and I was like, oh my god, or 50-9, and then they dwindled. So they wind up atop the conference, but the Bruins come and nab the President's Trophy. Maybe they weren't 50-9, maybe it was like 40-9, but still they were on pace to have a great season, and they still did, but not as stellar as they were on pace to do. You can see the totals here. Kane contributing plenty, though. Some of those stats are on his former team. And then goalies. So Swayman 21-5, and again some of those games with Boston, but geez, clearly the better goaltender. Gibson has had some struggles throughout, so maybe overall a good move. And you could see the playoff tree here. We have the Edmonton Oilers in the first round. We'll face the winner of Vancouver and Arizona. So yeah, Philly making it into the playoffs too. Anyway, we're going to sim it through these here. As you'll see, 1-1 series that goes up 2-1 for us. An injury there with Lyubushkin. We'll just go best lines, and we'll finish it off in 5 games. Great way to start the playoffs, build off the momentum with that winning streak broken up by LA. And now we have the Vancouver Canucks. So we'll go 1-1 to start once again, up 2-1 again. Now we're in an even series. Game 5 in Vancouver. That's a loss. We battle back in Game 6 at home with the win, and now Vancouver, Game 7. We sim this one. And up 4-1 in the third. Feeling good, but just in case there's a dramatic comeback, we want to be ready to watch that unfold and feel the pain. But nope, we win it in Game 7. Moving on to the Western Conference Final. Who's our opponent? It's the Dallas Stars. Lose Game 1 in OT, lose again, so we're down 0-2. Dig out. Game 5, down again, and then Game 6, we're going to sim it. Dallas up 5-2 in the third. See if we can get a comeback. Would be absolutely magnificent. But time is running short, and that's the dagger right there. And I was trying to go and see the celebration for Dallas, add some, flair, but it wouldn't let me go in because there's only 1 second left. So, unfortunately, didn't get to see that. Maybe fortunately for the fans. But that's our season. We made it to the Western Conference Final. Honestly, further than I really thought. I mean, I felt like we were capable, but especially in that Vancouver series, I was feeling like, Dallas goes on to sweep Carolina in the Cup final. So we'll go over to some stats now for the playoffs. Zegras, 28 points in 18 games. Kane, 26. So, we got what we needed. We just kind of fell short in the end. Goaltending, Swayman, just not as great as stats, and you don't know if that's him or if that's maybe some defense. Maybe we didn't do enough to upgrade the defense, but kind of worked with what was available. So leave it to you. What do you think we need to do next season? Let me know in the comments. I'm not going to ask you to like the video, but that would be great. All right, I'll see you guys next season.